Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pie Records, and I'm here with Danny Dunlap from the Gentleman Rogues. How are you, Danny?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
Good, good. I was introduced to you guys through Chuck Coffey of Snappy Little Numbers, and
Uh-huh.
I listened to Fatal Music and the
Yeah.
new single, and I really
Uh-huh.
like it. I want you to describe your sound for our listeners.
Okay. I mean it's four-piece band, garage, I mean garage. Um, like a guitar rock band. Two guitars, bass, drums, poppy, but not I mean some of it I guess is pretty poppy, some of it's a little darker. I would compare us like sometimes it's easier to compare to what maybe things we get compared to, and that would be stuff like the Replacements, Sugar. Uh, Someone said we're kind of like early Green Day meets Teenage Fan Club. Um, a punkier Material Issue. Like those are kind of things that we've heard a few times, so that might give people an idea of what we sound like. Super Drag. That we've heard that one a few
Oh yeah.
times.
I also
Yeah.
heard a little Weston in there. I don't know if that is one of your. Uh,
Weston, yeah. I I wouldn't think of that for us, but I do like that band. I used to be in a band called Jill that was kind of like a pop punk band in the '90s, and we played a couple of shows with Weston back in the day. Where I'm a fan. I like that band.
I am
I don't think
too.
we sound like that, but I mean, it's in the ear of the beholder, right?
Yeah, they're from my area, so that's how I grew up with
Oh,
them.
okay, cool.
Um, so you got where are you guys located?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
Uh-huh.
Amazing music scene, I hear.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, before all the this past year's events have taken place, it's known as the, live capital musical of the world. There's lots and lots of bands in Austin. That's kind of in my opinion, without sounding like I'm being bitchy, almost like too many bands, because it's not competitive in a, battle of the bands kind of way, but just like there's shows all the time. I mean, every night of the week there's shows going on and stuff, or there were. But yeah, there's tons of bands here, tons of music. It's good. It's good for that.
Very.
People like it.
I spoke to the Brake Lights and Oldie Hawn, and they spoke highly of Austin, and I thought that was interesting, being that they're a little bit further away.
The brake lights,
Yeah,
that's yeah, they're from here, right? That's the same brake lights.
yeah, yeah. But I think Oldie
Yeah,
Hawn's
yeah, yeah.
from Corpus Christi. Is that right?
I'm not sure about those guys. I've never heard them, but the brake light. I know Charlie, the singer in the brake lights. He's a buddy. So yeah. Okay, cool. I was wondering, is it the same brake lights that are from Austin? So it must be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Austin's great for music, and I mean, it's great for lots of stuff. It's changing a lot in the last 5 years dramatically. It's a lot of tons of people are moving here, and especially right now, Joe Rogan moved here, and he keeps talking about how great Texas is and how great Austin is, and
yeah.
he reaches millions of people with his podcast, so they're all listening to him, and they're all moving here now too. So it seems like we're kind of becoming Los Angeles to some degree. It's kind of strange, or
It's
what I
funny.
imagine Los Angeles is like.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had on MTV's Adam Curry, and
Hmm.
Adam moved to Austin as well,
Yeah, he lives here apparently.
and he's got his hands on all this type of tech stuff. So, do you find that there's a lot of tech companies moving there?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. A lot of the we're kind of becoming like the new Silicon Valley, and there's a lot of like I follow stand-up comedy. John, our other guitarist, is a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and like a lot of the stand-up comics, like the bigger names, are all starting to move here. Tony Hinchcliffe moves here, so he does his podcast Kill Tony out of Antone's, which is a classic sort of music venue here in Austin. And Joe Rogan lives here now, and I think I've heard like Dave Chappelle maybe is moving here or has a place here. And
Oh,
so it
wow.
just seems like a lot of celebrities are starting to move to Austin. A lot of tech companies are moving here, and it's changing the city in a way that if you've lived here for a long time is not desirable. Traffic's getting worse and all that stuff. But that sounds. I'm just being like a grumpy old man about it because in the end, Austin's still a great city. There's lots of things to do, and there's far worse places to live. So.
So I want to get back into the band. Your sound is very full, heavy yet still melodic. I like to talk about gear and stuff like that. How do you get your sound where you want it, and yet still let the notes and the chords ring through?
That's a good observation. We kind of try to go for big guitars. Like guitar rock bands should be like, you should rock, and we try to rock. So, in terms of gear, we kind of mess around with different guitars. John and I both play, a variety of different guitars, and pedal, the kind of the usual stuff. Like I play mostly through a Vox AC30 that I bought back in 1998, set 97. I've still used the same amp. I have a JCM 800 that I also have that I run through sometimes. John plays through like a Fender Twin, and like with a Les Paul. I think with like Do the Resurrection, that single, those guitars are a Les Paul, and I think I'm playing a Fender Mustang, and then I think that's what we recorded that song with. And yeah, I mean, I use like a full tone OCD pedal. Obsessive compulsive distortion is what that is. And John, I think uses one of those too. And I mean, we just kind of mess around with different sounds and try to make the guitar sound really big. A lot of that sound on that new single is Kevin Butler, who recorded it. He had this thing we tried differently, which is like not putting a mic directly in front of the amp, but instead he had this kind of I'm totally ignorant to recording stuff, but he had this interface that he had plugged into the back of the amp, like disconnected the speaker,
Yeah.
and then ran it into like my AC30. It was like basically running directly into this like interface he plugged in.
Yeah.
And it just made the guitars sound like gigantic. It's interesting too, because people who aren't even musicians, when they've heard Do the Resurrection, they're like, man, those guitars sound amazing. And it's kind of a testament to what Kevin did, because when you someone who doesn't even play guitar talks about how good the guitar sounds, it's kind of like, wow, it must be pretty freaking good if
Yeah.
non-musicians kind of call that out, so that's kind
I
of cool.
I used to record
Yeah.
through the
Same thing with
way with the red box interface.
yeah. Yeah, it might be something similar to that. Like I said, he just was like, hey, let's I want to try this and do it differently. Like, let's not just mic the amp, let's plug, this, whatever the hell this thing is, plug it into the back. And we, got sounds when we were recording that single, and we're just like, yeah, sounds pretty good. And we just recorded it, and after the mixing, we're just like, man, it's a really catchy song, but it also sounds gigantic. It's very, very big, which we like. We like the big rock guitars. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Do the Resurrection. After listening to the single and the lyrics, I think you have to listen to it to kind of get it. But do you want to explain a little bit what that's about?
What the lyrics are about?
Yeah.
Uh, it's funny. We just got a review in the Austin Chronicle, kind of going back to the local scene. We got a little love in our local entertainment rag, which doesn't happen very often to us. But they said, the guy said something about the lyrics are seemingly about love in a during a zombie apocalypse, which is not what the song is about. about. But there is a line that references, it has some zombie imagery in this one line. It's just about kind of like on again, off again relationships. Like when you, I guess I'd say it's maybe about like being with someone and then like it's not really like maybe it's kind of a toxic situation, relationship, and you kind of do it and split up, and then you kind of are always sort of drawn back to that person, and you kind of know it's never going to go well, but you kind of keep going back to it. So do the resurrections
Yeah.
like so that the lyrics kind of talk about being basically being killed and being brought back to life from into this kind of bad situation.
Oh yeah, totally.
The
I can
death
relate.
of a relationship and the rebirth and the death and the rebirth. I think most people can.
Yeah.
That's
Do
the
you
idea.
do you find
Yeah.
I guess to stay true to yourselves, a lot of your music is very personal.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. A lot of, I mean, a lot. I was just talking to someone last night about this, about how difficult I think writing lyrics is. Um, and I'm trying to kind of approach it differently. So, Do the Resurrection is kind of grounded in reality, but there's a lot of, there's sort of fictitious things about it too, or maybe exaggerated things about it. And I think that lyrically, I kind of try to do that more because it makes it a little easier to write the lyrics. We have some, some stuff that's like very personal and it's like a true story and, you know, all of that. And those are, even though it's something that really happened, for some reason it's more difficult. And I think maybe because you're difficult to write because your tendency is maybe to edit yourself more, censor yourself more. I shouldn't say that, you know, I should change this to where it's not so like, you know, revealing too much or sounding too much like a crybaby about something. so, so I'm trying to kind of find this balance of like I'm kind of writing about a real thing that happened or a real thing in general, and then I'm trying to sort of um, maybe exaggerate with it a little bit or kind of add fiction to it, and
Yeah,
that tends to make it a little bit easier to write.
a little bit more metaphorically, but still personal.
Yeah, yeah, a little more, I guess I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm trying to do. I'm just happy when I can like write a set of lyrics that I like, because getting from like point A to point B for me is very like it's difficult for me to like sit down and do it, and I have this fear that I'm always going to ruin a song by putting shitty lyrics on it. And so I will write music to songs and I'm like, ah, this is a great guitar riff and we got all these cool parts and the melody is pretty good, but now I'm going to put the words to it and I'm going to ruin the song because the lyrics are going to be so
Yeah,
stupid. And I'm really scared of that. And I think it makes me procrastinate. It makes me, overthink the lyrics. I'm trying to approach it differently, like just kind of like try to spit them out, try to live in the kind of spontaneity of it at times. So there's no set way for me to write a song and to write lyrics. I just kind of do the best I can each time I do it and hope for the best, I guess.
well, the effort is definitely paid off. I mean, they're really intelligent lyrics, so you have that
Okay,
going for
cool.
you.
Okay, good. Good, thank you. Hopefully they're not too like highbrow or whatever people say, to where I want it to be smart, but I want it to be fun too, and I guess trying to keep that balance of there where I want to have lyrics that are clever, and I always kind of look to, bands like the Weaker Thans, John K. Sampson from the Weaker Thans is kind of like a lyrical influence, and David Gedge from The Wedding Present, Blake Schwarzenbach, Jawbreaker. I always kind of look at those lyrics and be like, man, that's a really clever line, or that line is really heavy, or just kind of uh, summarizes how a lot of people feel about a certain thing. And I just always am like, God, that's so cool, and people can write really great lyrics like that. So I'm always sort of looking to looking to those people for inspiration of like, how can I aim for that? I'm not ever going to hit that, but that's my aim, is to write lyrics as good as those guys do it.
So I noticed a lot, and at the time, I didn't realize it. But why do you think Jawbreaker is such a heavy influence on punk rock and rock in general? Um, a lot of bands cite them as influences. What do they mean to you?
Um, I heard Jawbreaker for the first time probably around the time that Bivouac came out. I mean, late to the game, I guess, with them, and maybe I heard them around the time of Bivouac, maybe around the time of when 24 Hour came out, around 1993. And the first album of theirs that I heard was Unfun, but Unfun had been out since what? It came out in '89, I think. Um, 89 or 90. But yeah, for some reason, like the first time I ever heard Want, I just like it just kind of kicks off on fun, and I was just like, damn, like that sounds cool. And then his voice was sort of, gravelly and weird sounding, and I was like, his voice is cool, and I don't normally like that kind of. I didn't really normally like that thing at the time, but for some reason it was I don't know. It was just everything I sort of liked about music and punk rock and sort of like I guess what would be called, emo and that sort of stuff. It all kind of fit with this thing they were doing. Excuse me. And I don't know. I can't explain it. I just sort of like immediately loved them. Like from the first second I heard, want to start, I was just like, all right, this is my band. Like it immediately connected with me. So, and then you discover more about them as you listen to them. Like then you'd start realizing, oh, these lyrics to this song are incredible. Oh, the song totally rocks ass. So it was just, I don't know. Everything just sounded great. It was interesting. They were always changing, so that was something that was cool about Jawbreakers. Unfun sounds nothing like 24-hour revenge therapy. Bivouac kind of has its own thing, so they maintained the what was cool about them, but they always sort of each album was a little bit different than the one before it. And I always thought that was kind of cool too. So they kept it interesting. The songwriting was great, the lyrics were great, the energy was there. Like it just kind of had everything. So.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I
I
I
mean,
love
I could say there's several bands to me that are like that.
uh like which ones?
Like the Descendants are a band that I've loved since I was, in junior high, I think. I think it was in like ninth grade the first time I ever heard them back in the late 80s. And it was one of those bands, like the first time I heard them, I was just like, oh my God, this is perfect. There's lots of stuff like that that's just immediately hits you. You almost don't even understand why you immediately connect to it.
Yeah.
You just do. Can't explain it.
Um, I'd like to know a little bit about how you connected with Snappy Little Numbers in Denver. Being that
Mm.
they're in another city, how did you guys connect?
The, you know, um, we recorded that single, "Do the Resurrection," and that B side that we did those two songs February 1st and 2nd of 2020, and we were really happy with the way they turned out. We kind of didn't know what we were going to do with them. We just sort of knew, like, we wrote the song and we're like, we should record it. We haven't recorded it in a while. We haven't released anything in a bit. We should like try to do a 7-inch or something just to kind of get something out. And I mean, COVID hit like um, 4 or 5 weeks after we'd like got the mastering and all that stuff done. And so we were like, well, okay, we'll just kind of hang out because, when I don't know about for you, but for me at work, they were just like, oh, you're going to go and work from home for 2 weeks until
Yeah,
this COVID thing kind of blows over, and you're like, okay, it's just for 2 weeks. And then it became like a month. And it got to a point where we were like, well, I guess we're just going to sit on this single until this kind of blows over. And then it wasn't really showing any signs of blowing over. So one night, I just started like emailing out. I made a private SoundCloud link to the songs, and I just started emailing a bunch of record labels and just sending it out to people. We're like, take a listen to these tracks, blah blah blah. Here's a little bio thing about the band, and And to our shock, within like 48 hours, I think we had 3 labels kind of get back and be like, hey, this is really good. Like, what, kind of showing interest in wanting to put it out. And Chuck was one of those people. And so we just ended up kind of talking with people, and Chuck just seemed like, I don't know, he just kind of seemed like we kind of were of like minds or something. So we decided to do it with him. And then once Chuck and I started talking, it turned out we had some mutual friends, and and he actually when he lived in Colorado, or he still lives in Colorado, but when my old pop punk band Jill that I mentioned earlier, we used to go on tour and stuff, Chuck had actually was a fan of that band and had actually come to some of the shows we'd played in a Boulder, I think. So it was like one of those sort of like small world, but realizing it a little later, we're like, oh wow, we know some of the same people. You saw this band I was in like in 1996, and it's just kind of like we were sort of just instant friends. So it
One thing that struck
was
me,
cool.
and I have a copy of it, is um, maybe not seem like a big deal, but to somebody who's a fan of vinyl, the cover
Hmm.
is totally old school, and I really dig it. Um,
Yeah,
whose idea was that?
that's Chuck's idea, but kind of a serendipitous thing. He does that a lot with his singles. I actually have a box of them right here. I'll pull one up to do some visual engagement for the video, but this is the single.
Yeah, totally.
And it's in this, yeah, this old school like gold sleeve like they used to do in like the 50s and 60s. And it's kind of the way he liked to do it. And then we have like the half and half
Oh,
vinyl.
yeah.
It's a milky clear and standard black is technically the names. But yeah, he likes to do a 7 inches like that in the gold sleeve. So ours isn't the only one that's like that, but it kind of was serendipitous because the title "Do the Resurrection" was sort of inspired by those old songs like "Do the Twist," like Chubby Checker. Come
Yeah,
on, baby.
yeah.
So we kind of made the title with the exclamation mark "Do the Resurrection," like it was kind of like almost like if you looked at it, you'd think it was like "Do the Twist." It was like one of those kind of dance songs. And so that was inspired by like old 50s, 60s rock and roll, just the title of the song. And then the fact that the sleeve, is that style too. We were kind of like, oh, that's kind of neat. There's sort of a kind of a connection between, again, kind of like minds. And just the fact that that single came out in a sleeve like that was kind of neat.
Very cool. Where did you get the idea? Are the colors significant on the record?
Excuse me, are
The
the what?
the variant, the colors on the record. So
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's part of the package.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it looks really great. We really wanted the sleeves to be baby blue. That was kind of the big thing. And we were going to originally do 2 different colors of vinyl. So we were just going to do, I think we had burgundy and gold, I think were the 2 colors we were going to do, if I remember right. So we were going to do like half the thing would be burgundy or oxblood, I think was the color. And then we were going to do gold or silver. I can't remember. But then it started getting into where like this is going to be really expensive. So then we're like, well, let's do instead of 2 colors, we'll do some kind of like variant, we're going to try to do the one where it's like I can't remember what it's called. It's sort of like solid on the outside and clear in the center.
Oh
And then
yeah,
we found out you could only do that with LPs, and that 7 inches weren't big enough to do that kind of variation. So then we said, oh, we'll do the half and half, and uh, and then it became let's do clear and black. So it'd be black and then totally clear. And fortunately, the guy at the pressing plant said, that will look really good, but just so you know, like clear vinyl like is like the worst sounding vinyl you can choose. So if you want like the audio to be good, you make the milky clear, and that'll sound better. So we're like, okay. So we sort of ended up with this one after 3 ideas of doing something else first. But actually, I'm happy that it ended up like this because I think it looks great.
it does. It's funny because our next release was supposed to be on clear vinyl, and now I have a heads up that it's not. It may not be the way to go.
Yeah, well, what he said was, like picture discs are sort of notoriously, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but like picture discs are notoriously like not the best sounding records. They look cool, but they don't sound great. And he was like, the same clear vinyl that you would use for this, it's the same stuff that people use on picture discs. And,
Uh,
if you know what reputation they have, then, it's going to be the same here. So he just said, make it the milky one and it'll sound better than just straight clear. So
Interesting.
that's what we did. We took his advice. Yeah.
So, where can people find your music other than Snappy Little Numbers? I'm sure Green Noise has it. But where can they find you?
Green Noise. Yeah, I mean, we have our Bandcamp, so gentlemanrogues.bandcamp.com. We have gentlemanroguesmusic.com, which is our official website that we maintain it to some degree, but it seems like these days bands' official websites are more a formality. I don't know. We don't super in depth with ours because most people visit our social media stuff. So yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Gentleman Rogues, on Twitter, which we never really use, but that's at Gentleman Rogues as well. And it's gentlemen plural, not gentleman, because for some reason people always spell our band name wrong. There's 4 of us, so it's plural. And then Rogues is spelled Rogues instead of UG, which for some reason our band always gets spelled Gentleman Rouges.
Yeah.
So we didn't pick tricky words, but they're apparently hard to spell because they get misspelled more than they get spelled correctly.
So,
What can you do?
one thing that interests me greatly is marketing. And how important do you think the social media is? And what are some of your tricks to kind of get the word out?
Hmm. Uh, I don't know. I don't really know if I know of any tricks, but I kind of feel like if I get sort of self-conscious that I'm posting about it too much, that I'm being kind of a pest with people. But when we did this new single, I felt like I was posting stuff about it like daily, and so I guess my tactic would be just beat people over the head with with the fact that this record's out. But yeah, I mean, we post on Facebook and Instagram, and that's kind of like the big promotion stuff that we do as the band, and then obviously our Bandcamp stuff. Um, we've been trying, because of COVID, we've been trying to do different things. Like we made a video for Do the Resurrection, which we've never made a music video before.
Wow.
And so that's been a thing that's kind of helped promote stuff a little bit, was having a video for the song. We've been working with a PR, like a publicist, who's been helping us do kind of promotion for the single, which is also something we've never done before. And yeah, so I guess for this, and I think we've seen some really cool stuff come of it. We ended up getting Do the Resurrection ended up becoming coolest song in the world on Little Steven's Underground Garage Sirius XM
Oh yeah,
station a few weeks
really?
ago. So they just yeah. So it was like at the end of February, I think it was like for 1 week was their promo, like coolest song in the world, and they played it like a bajillion times, and it's now still in rotation. And the B-side, Bloody Rudderless and Major, is now in rotation on Underground Garage too. So I don't know if we could have done that without the PR stuff, maybe, but some cool stuff has come of that. So maybe we'll keep doing that kind of thing to help promote the records and stuff. So that's the tactic. Hire someone to help you, and then and then beat people over the head with your social media. That's what we did with this.
Where can we find your music video? Is it on YouTube?
Yep, it's on YouTube. You can just Google it. I'll email it to you. I'll maybe reply to your email to me and just
Awesome.
send it to you. But you can just search it on YouTube. Do the Resurrection, Gentlemen Rogues.
Very cool.
We did it with our buddy Daniel Freed, who we basically we made it really quickly. Daniel has his band called TV's Daniel. He's actually in the studio recording a record right now. But he also plays in some of those what I call like the Dirt Nap Records alumni. He plays in a band Radioactivity, Mind Spiders, Draculas, which is some of the Riverboat Gambler guys, and Zach from Rise Against is in that band. So he plays in all those bands, and he also does like video work and stuff. So he made the video with us, and we kind of banged it out in a couple of days, and then he spent like a week editing it because it's you have to see the video, but it's got a lot of kind of weird stuff happening in the background, and took him a long time to edit it, very quick to film it. And, it turned out cool. I mean, it's yeah, it looks good. I mean, I like it. I think it turned out cool.
It's very cool how the punk rock and rock scene is so interconnected because Zach is a Texas native,
Yep.
and his band Hagfish and
Yep.
Armstrong from there. Um,
Hmm.
so it's kind of cool to see that he hasn't lost touch with that.
Yeah. He lives here in Austin, and he and I aren't like BFFs or anything, but we're buddies with each other, and he's a super sweet guy. He plays in obviously Rise Against still, and he's in that band Dracula's, which is him on guitar, and Mike Wiebe from a singer from the Riverboat Gamblers. And the it seems like the rhythm section kind of is always kind of swapping out a little bit, but Daniel, who'd made our video, was playing bass in Dracula's for a while, and he was playing second guitar, and then he started switching to bass, and so yeah, they're awesome band, very cool, kind of concepty, but like cool punk rocky stuff. And I think what you're saying too is like just the punk scene and DIY scene and all that stuff. Just even me and Chuck, meeting each other by sending him a link to our SoundCloud to hopefully get someone to put out our 7-inch, and then find out that we have all these friends because Chuck is friends with Dracula's. His band Spells actually toured with Dracula's. And so it's kind of one of these like, oh wow, like I know all those guys, and those are my friends, and they're your friends, and kind of again that small world. And yeah, it's cool how that it seems like you never stop finding that kind of stuff in the sort of punk scene.
Yeah, totally. And influences kind of overlap between people. I think that's really interesting. Um, I think maybe that's part of why people are where they are is just like mindedness.
Yeah, I think it definitely plays into it for sure. You know, I mean, even just Daniel, doing the video with us and stuff. Like I knew Daniel because he played in Dracula's, and we were kind of friends through just kind of being at shows and playing shows together, and just to be like, hey, my buddy makes videos, we need to make a video. You want to make a video with us? And it just, I don't know, it's just kind of cool how everyone sort of helps each other out. And he didn't make the video for free. I'm not trying to make him seem like you can just call him up and he'll make a video for you, but but like it's just cool that like there is sort of a network of people that through the punk scene. And everything with our band has a very DIY element to it. We came up in that scene, and our records that Fatal you mentioned earlier, like we sort of do all the artwork and design and for all of our own records. And I think Josh and I, who plays drums, like we sort of do all the artwork and design for our records and stuff. And I don't know, there's just always this element of handing everything over to someone else to do for you that I've never really liked. I always kind of like being involved in the process more than just writing the songs or whatever. You kind of like to be a part of the whole thing
Yeah,
to some
absolutely.
degree.
DIY is an important aspect, I think, because it makes it your own. Like the whole project is your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and even though, with our single, like the gold sleeve, this wasn't our idea, it's Chuck's thing, but in terms of like us sort of designing like what the color scheme of what the actual vinyl record was going to be and how that related to the gold sleeve and how the colors were all going to go together nicely. And those are all things that you want to think about, and in terms of your artwork that's going to be on the cover. If it's not just a gold sleeve, but you're actually going to put artwork on it, you obviously want to have ideas for what you want it to look like. And it's just, I don't know, it's just more of the creative process. It's not just making music, but it's kind of thinking about the creation of the whole package. I think I'd like to think a lot of people do that, but we're definitely some of those people.
uh, as far as digital versus physical, the artwork is very important when you have a physical copy, and
Yeah,
people that put more thought into the artwork, it seems like they want a physical copy so they can show off their artwork,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
part of the whole thing.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, we have Fatal Music is an EP that we put out a couple of years ago, and it only exists on digital, but we still, really put thought into like what the artwork was going to look like for even just this digital thing. And then we had another EP a few years ago called History So Repeating, and that was the same thing. Like we sort of designed all of the packaging and with the artwork, and we did all of that ourselves, because we kind of knew what we wanted, and just why hire someone to do it when you can just do it yourself. But some one thing, if I can talk about this for a second, those two EPs, A History So Repeating and Fatal Music, are actually getting released on vinyl for the first time. We're in the process, like we just got all the mastered tracks back, but Snappy Little Numbers and a label out of Washington called Rocket Heart Records are going to be doing a co-release of that. And so it's going to be Fatal Music on side B and A History So Repeating on side A, and they're going to be on 112-inch. So we're
Oh, that's
pretty excited about that. Yeah, because both of those EPs were never released on vinyl. One was on a CD, which was like, oh, why did we do that? And the other probably for cost, but Fatal Music is just digital. So we always wanted those two on vinyl, and they're going to get released together on 112-inch coming up in the next few. Hopefully, it'll be out in like June. But yeah, pretty excited about that.
a really good
Going
idea.
back to the artwork, we kind of thought a lot about the packaging and stuff, and so it looks great. The vinyl's going to be opaque yellow, and half of the pressing is going to be opaque yellow, the other half is going to be transparent red. And we sort of took the artwork from each one and sort of combined them together. Since it's two EPs getting combined, we sort of did the same thing with the artwork. And again, just kind of going back to what we were talking about, like really thinking about planning, what this is all going to look like, how everything can kind of mesh together. And I think we pulled off something that's going to look really great. And we're proud of the songs, and we all got remastered. Some of it we remixed a couple of songs, so just overall it sounds gigantic, and the songs are cool, we think. So hopefully, people hear it and like it.
I certainly dig it.
Thanks.
It falls right in line with what I kind of grew up with in college. It sounds like something I would have been listening to at the time.
Yeah.
Um, punk rocky, but very rock oriented. Um, it grabbed me right away, so I was happy we got a chance to talk.
Oh, cool. Yeah, definitely. I never kind of tell people that we're a punk band because I don't think we are, but I do think there is maybe a punk spirit about what we do. Probably just sort of the urgency of some things, the energy of kind of punk, but not really without being what I would call a punk band. I kind of tell people I tell people we're a power pop band, but with an emphasis on the power, because we do like big guitars and big, big sounds. So, but we
It,
want it to be hooky and
yeah, totally.
catchy and stuff. Yeah,
It still has
cool.
a hint of
Appreciate that.
aggressiveness about it.
What's that?
I said it still has a hint of aggressiveness about it.
Yeah, it's definitely got like yeah, I would agree with that. That's kind of some of the songs more than others, but yeah, we like riffs, and we like kind of faster songs, and mid-tempo-y stuff, but we always wanted to have some kind of bite to it, you know, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciate your time, and
Yeah, thank you.
enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Nice to meet you, Ryan. Shoot me an email and I'll send you like a link to our video and all that stuff. And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Cool, very cool. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.